Story. The damsel in zero distress. On the metro ride home one night, I made eye contact with a gorgeous young woman on the platform. I went back to my phone and didn't think much of it, but she came and sat next to me. I was nervous, didn't say anything to her. After several stops, she asked if the train was going to a certain stop and I gave her a quick yeah. The sign is over there. Trying to avoid being the creepy passenger that's more interested in the person than providing directions. She was persistent and kept asking questions. I gave her my business card before I got off the train and she pointed out that my cell phone number wasn't on it. And there it started. And we went out the next night and had a great conversation. We've been dating ever since. P.S. A few days later, she admitted she knew exactly where she wanted to go.
2. The one time, at band camp. I had just finished training as an army musician and been posted to my first band. When I'm nervous I lose my appetite, so I hadn't eaten much before my first engagement, which involved standing on a parade square for about an hour and a half. Needless to say, I blacked out and one of the other musicians saw me swaying and caught me, and my saxophone, before I fell. It took 3 men to carry me off the square, and the first person I saw when I came around was the musician who caught me. We've been together 10 years now and married for 8.
Story. 3. The lost luggage turned found romance. A few years ago, I flew to Rome for an archaeological dig, and used my field kit as my second carry-on. Well, just my luck. After a 10-hour plane ride, I discovered the airline lost my luggage. After filing my report, I went to my hostel to have a shower and take a long nap. After check-in, I asked the girl at the counter where to go to buy supplies and clothes etc., explaining to her my experience with my luggage. When I got back from my shopping trip I found out that my roommates had used my allotted towels. Anyway, I went back to the front desk to ask about getting some more towels, and just as the clerk was telling me they didn't have any more clean towels, the cutest guy the first have ever seen tapped my shoulder, telling me that he had some I could borrow. He was visiting from Ireland, and he always brought his own towels while traveling. Apparently, he heard my story earlier and felt really bad for me, and wished there was something he could do. So we went to his room together to get them, and along the way he invited me out for a drink to help improve my day. The best decision in my life was saying yes, because that, boys and girls, is how I met my husband. Story. 4. The laundry money that turned into Cupid's arrow. My husband and I lived in the same college dorm when we met. 3 months into the semester, while doing his laundry, he realized he was 75 cents short and unable to finish drying his last bit of clothes. He walked around the nearby lobby, checking to see if anyone may have any change. I was sitting at a table with friends and happened to have my wallet with me. I looked inside and there were 3 single quarters. Nothing more, nothing less. I let him have my quarters and we exchanged names. 4 years later, we were exchanging vows. Not a bad deal for me. 75 cents for the love of my life. Wait, did he ever pay me back? Haha. Story. 5. The radio interview that became a date. It was the early '00s and I was a blogger. Like all 20-something women, even I had a fairly popular, humorous blog about dating in my hometown. The local paper did a full article on me, with a big photo. Later that day, I got an email from some radio DJ, inviting me on his show for an interview. I didn't listen to that station and I had no idea who he was, but my mom said, "Go for it, it could be fun." I met him the following week for the on-air interview. We were engaged 8 months later and will be married 10 years in October, and have 3 children. I would have missed out on my whole life if I skipped that interview. Story 6. The love story for the digital age. When I was a freshman in high school, I was texting my friend for no reason at all. Instead of sending a text to my friend, one day my phone sent it to a random Florida number. He texted me back asking who I was, and when we figured out the strange phenomenon in the texting, he asked if I wanted to be friends. And that's the point. We hit it off from there, and almost 7 years later we're still together. Story 7. The classic coffee shop run-in. I was at a coffee shop, and there was a gorgeous man a few people ahead of me in line. We made eye contact a couple times and he was so good looking, my heart was beating out of my chest. He ordered, I waited my turn and got my own cup of coffee. I walked over to the table where cream and sugars are kept, and he came over to fix up his coffee, too. He picked up the sugar bowl and said to me, "Do you take sugar?" and promptly dropped the bowl right at my feet, covering both our shoes. We both cracked up and decided to get a table together. And that's the start. We celebrated our 4th wedding anniversary last month. Story 8. The dead car that gave a relationship life. I was about to turn 30, so I decided to do something fun every day for the last month of my 20s. I ended up doing a lot of stupid meet-up things, including a Cards Against Humanity tournament at a pub. Everyone there was told to make sure their cars weren't parked in a certain lot. Of course mine was in that lot, but when I went out to move it, my car was dead. I had to call for a tow truck, and the minute I met the tow truck driver, I took one look at him and something clicked in me. I ended up spending the next 2 hours with him in the truck, talking, laughing, and flirting hard. When he dropped me off at home, I gave him my number. I had just enough time to text my sister and tell her about how thankful I was that my car broke down, when he sent me a text. And we have been together 2 years now, and he is the love of my life. Story 9. The dog meets dog moment. My husband and I met walking dogs. It was a sunny summer day before my summer college class, and I was walking my roommate's dog. I had no makeup on, it was my 3rd day of not washing my hair, and I was just thinking to myself how I really needed to look human-like for my class while sitting on the grass, waiting for the dog to potty. Suddenly, I heard someone say hello, and when I looked up, it was a tall, good-looking guy with a golden retriever. We talked for a couple of minutes while our dogs smelled each other's butts, and we each went back to our apartments. Soon, we began to secretly anticipate each other's schedules, so that we could take our dogs out at the same time and be able to talk. After running into each other several times, he finally asked me out on a date. And now, a couple of years down the road, we have been blissfully married for 5 months. Story 10. The Concert of Love. I went out last minute to a concert with a friend during finals week, which I thought I would immediately end up regretting. But I met a super cute guy there and we really hit it off. Unfortunately, I was moving to another city, so I told him that nothing was going to come of it, until he told me he actually lived in the city I was moving to. He ended up picking me up from the airport when I arrived, and the rest is history. Story 11. The fateful hockey match. My now fiancé and I literally ran into one another while on the same co-ed hockey team. This was my first match on this new team after just moving to this new state. I got lost on the way to the rink, so I showed up late and didn't have the chance to meet all my new teammates. We were both skating fast for the puck, so we hit at incredible speed. He jumped up and helped me up. The moment we locked eyes was it, and we have been together for the last 4 years. Needless to say, we were love-struck after that crash. Story 12. The non-pet friendly hotel. I had just moved to town and my apartment wasn't ready yet, so I had to stay in a hotel. The hotel had a strange rooming system. I was in 4B, the clerk said the door would be cracked open because the cleaning crew had just finished. I reached a cracked door and assumed it was mine, so I opened it. There was a man standing there with a dog in a non-pet friendly hotel. He just looked at me and said, "Please do not tell on me. My house is being fumigated and this was the best hotel I could afford." I just laughed and said, "Dude, chill. I just moved here. My dog's in the car, I intend on sneaking her in, too. Your dog is cute as hell." We ended up really hitting it off, as did our dogs. He went home the next day, but we exchanged numbers. On my second to last day at the hotel, somebody called in about my dog. They let me stay, but said my dog had to go. He offered us both a place to crash, which I said was too weird, but I let my dog stay. And that's how we ended up dating and are still together. Story 13. The Low Blood Sugar Sweethearts. Before he was my husband, I worked in the same department with him at work. I was also part of a medical first response team made up of trained volunteers for on-the-job medical emergencies that might arise. My husband is diabetic and he had low blood sugar at work one day. His normal response to a low is falling asleep, but this day, he was very animated and laughing and jumping around. I and a couple other medical team members were trying to calm him down and get him to eat something to bring his blood sugar up. To stop him from running through the facility, I was holding his hand. Once we got him to calm down and sit, I sat next to him and talked. I may have been flirting a little bit. He was cute, after all. He kept saying he loved my smile and asked why was my face turning red. Anyway, after that we started to talk at work and a few weeks later he asked me over for dinner. We were engaged 3 months later and have now been together 6 years and married for 4. And the really crazy thing was that day I was actually supposed to be on vacation, but plans fell through.